Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all participants joining us from across the globe. My name is Chinmay Kumar, and I serve as the coordinator of the Asia Pacific Regional Learning Hub by 7 Alliance. It's my privilege to moderate today's critical webinar on Unpacking Grant Adaptation Measures for the Global Fund Grant Cycle 7. First, let me extend a warm welcome to everyone participating today. We have community representatives, civil society leaders, CCM members, and Global Fund partners joining us from multiple regions and time zones. Your presence here demonstrates our collective commitment to ensure that essential health services continue to reach the communities most affected by HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. Before we dive into our program, let me invite Harry Provavo, Program Manager at APN Plus and Focal Point for 7 Alliance, to deliver our welcome remarks, ground rules, interpretation, and introduction to the webinar objectives for today's session. Harry, you have 5 minutes and the floor is yours. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to all colleagues joining us from across the globe. My name is Harry Provavo, Program Manager at the Asia Pacific Network of People Living with HIV or APN Plus, and also the focal point for 7 Alliance. On the behalf of the Asia Pacific Regional Learning Hub and our fellows Regional Learning Hubs partners from Anglophone Africa, Francophone Africa, Eastern Europe and Central Asia, and the Middle East and North Africa and Latin America and Caribbean. We would like to warmly welcome all of you to today's joint webinar on Unpacking Grant Adaptation Measures for Global Fund Cycle 7. We recognize the urgent and complex challenges presented by Global Fund recent guidance on reprioritizations, which has significant implication for our communities. This webinar provides us with a timely opportunity to collectively make sense of changes, share strategies, and strengthening our readiness to respond. As communities, our engagement is crucial in shaping how GC7 grant changes are made. Today's sessions will provide key updates, reflection from the Global Fund and community delegations, and practical example of community advocacy. We hope today's webinar will helping us to stay informed and prepared to act. Ground rules are to turn off the microphones muted when not speaking. If you require interpretation, please select your preferred language channel from the interpretation icon, which you can see at the bottom of your screen. Usually it's like a globe icon. We have Hindi, Bhasa, Arabic, French, Portuguese, Russian, and Spanish. English language is in the original language. Next, please type your question or comments in the chat box. We will address them during the Q&A sessions or as time permits. If you wish to speak during the Q&A, please use the raise hand feature and the moderator will call on you. We encourage you to stay present and engaged throughout the webinar. Please note that this webinar is being recorded. Please introduce yourself in the chat box. The objective of this webinar is to provide a detailed overview of the Global Fund's orientation on programmatic reprioritizations of GC grants, examine the implication for communities and civil society affected by 3 diseases, particularly concerning their access to life-saving services, highlight community best practices, success stories, and challenges engaging in the GC reprioritization process. This is the agenda of today's webinar. I am doing welcome, ground rules, interpretation, and introduction to the webinar. After this, the another session is Unpacking Consideration for Programmatic Reprioritization of Global Fund GC7 by Anna Malson Global Fund. Then Javier would be doing reflection from the community delegation to the board of the Global Fund on the programmatic reprioritization. After that, Anwar Luna would be launching the community guide on the reprioritization approach. After that, there would be Q&A sessions and 2 case studies from the countries, and then again Q&A session, and the webinar would be closed by the closing remarks from Ikan. Thank you, Harry. For our next session, we will learn about unpacking consideration for programmatic reprioritization of Global Fund GC7 grants by Anna Malson from Global Fund. Anna Malson serves as the manager of the thematic cluster for key population, community engagement and responses at the Global Fund. Her prior roles includes WHO representative, team leader for universal health coverage and COVID-19 incident manager in Papua New Guinea. She also provided support to 37 member states during her tenure at the WHO Western Pacific Regional Office. Ms. Malson's background as a former chair and member of Country Coordinating Mechanism provides her with extensive expertise in PHC, health system strengthening, disease control, and maternal and child health. She holds dual master degree in public health and applied science and is dedicated to promoting equity and health right-based community-led approach in global health. Anna, you have 20 minutes for your session and the floor is yours. Thank you, Chinmay. Thank you all for being here at this important webinar. This week is a big week. Letters will start being sent to the country coordinating mechanism regarding the prioritization and allocation of fund. I will try to share as much as possible, and then we will have plenty of time for question and answers at the end of my presentation. We will have more details about redefining priorities. So let's now move on to the next slide. So reprioritization is not something we want to do. We are in a very difficult time with lots of anxiety, and we recognize this, but we would also like to see this redefinition of priorities. It can be a way for us to build a solid foundation for Grand Cycle 7. This cycle is also an opportunity to build momentum for malaria and to work close program and to help community health system. We want to accelerate this number grand cycle. Yet we still don't know what the future holds regarding financing. This is a difficult time. It will be very quick process at country level, and there is a lot of information available in the learning hubs or CCM to help you to reflect on your priorities at national level. I recognize that we all know that is already a priority. This is a very important calendar here. We hear the speed at which things are happening. This is very important calendar. We see here the speed at which things are happening. Therefore, the communication will start to be issued tomorrow, and by June 30, it will be a week since everyone received communication, and they will receive different letters for countries. Country with 1 grant will receive 1 letter, and the countries with the several grant, the letter will propose compensation and provide a 2-week window period to allow for discussion around this list of priorities. There may be discussions on the reallocation of the funding and some transfer of funding between different agencies. The CCM get involved in this process. If there is an agreement with the Secretariat, the review process begins. The review will be completed by the end of September, and all countries will then have to submit the new activities so that the Secretariat has opportunity to do the final review, so that we can wrap this up by the end of September, so that implementation can move forward at the national level. Here are some suggestions for engaging communities. First, know your grant and funding landscape. So many of you may not have a prioritized budget. So please ask your country coding mechanism for this document, and they should also be available online, or search to see what is in grant to review your activities and see what can be prioritized, and get in touch with your PR. You can share the guidelines we are sharing. We have quite detailed guidance document. We have this 2-week window period here. At this time, come to an agreement on how you are going to deal with your CCM. Here are all life-saving services in the context of programmatic reprioritization, rethinking to preserve and enable services that are life-saving for TB, HIV, and malaria. Priorities will be different for each diseases. We need to ensure continuation of treatment, diagnosis of TB from case to case. For malaria, WHO will also continue to provide guidance, especially regarding access. We must emphasize here that life-saving interventions are interventions that remove barriers. So this review is essential to highlight what needs to be considered. This is not just from the background, this is global epidemiological context. Therefore, all the community must be perceived as priority. Country-specific financial consideration must take into account the transition which is not part of return on financing from the Global Fund remain unaffected, and this therefore does not include here private sector financing or match funding. I hope you have already seen these slides. I will then only present or share in an abbreviated from this HIV, TB, and then malaria. It is important to highlight here integration and robust foundation of inclusive health services, effective integration. So it seems like we had pretty balanced conversation here at the country level. So this is really need to be maintained to provide the services and prioritize the services next. We have the full version of guidelines. Here, this is an abbreviated form of page number 46. Intervention to reduce inequalities. human rights and gender-related barriers to equity and human rights, and strengthening community system to maintain peer and community organizations integration into primary health services. This will also help to provide inclusive services and then to hold community-led mechanism accountable and to monitor any human rights violation, and then link this as much as possible with the quality assurance and that areas of human rights, equity and gender are not disproportionately reduced. The document has consideration for per module, and each module includes investment to prioritize, invest to deprioritize, and last, consideration for making efficiencies. The information highlighting here the part of system, how health systems are integrated with the framework in a smooth way that specifically human resources for health. It is necessary to continue to prioritize this and align with national strategies. Here it is specifically strengthening community system, especially community-led program. These initiatives needs to be protected. You can continue and maintain the initiative that already exist. Now it is not the time to launch new initiative led by communities. Therefore, we will maintain the initiative that already exist, which are linked to the 3 diseases, and we will keep the peer organizations here due to difficulties at the country level. We are thinking about reducing priority of isolated projects and projects linked to research or projects that have not yet completed more than data cycle. Here is more detail. Here what remains important is to make diagnosis and follow-up, providing integrated services for those who suffer from other diseases. We will continue to provide support for screening. We will recommend that at the country level they use more effective regimens, and we will continue to prioritize treatment for children in specific context. Consider accelerating various other regimes and integrating this treatment service and support family members, and consider the use of symptom-based screening. Data monitoring, supervision, training, program review, and this must always include the 3 situations here of human rights, equity, and gender. There is a lot of information here. I will go through it pretty quickly. Let's think about reducing the priority in the season of new equipment, specifically needs differentiation at a national level. We cannot have one-size-fits-all approach for all countries. We are talking different approaches for children or clients with different situation, pregnant women. Therefore, new inquiries should be deprioritized. We also advising that we do several online webinars with WHO. Let's reduce the impact here. For HIV, there are for ensuring measures for vulnerable people to support peers, HIV harm reduction. All of this must be maintained. Replenishment of opioids, activities related to human rights, reducing barriers, accessing to people living with HIV. These continue to be priority services. Community outreach reinforce the system and give priority to CBOs. I know this is a lot of information to take in. We must focus here on case management, and they should include eliminating the acquisition of basic product, preventing treatments, and ensuring that supplies are selected and still have quality, and seeing where possible integrate these services into health services, and not always include here that concern for gender, human rights, equity where possible, and include that case management is not related to malaria integration of private sector stakeholders. Thank you. It's a lots of information. I apologize for having to present it so quickly. So we are here to answer all the questions. Thank you. I extend my gratitude to Anna for explaining the Grand Cycle 7 programmatic reprioritization approach and for highlighting life-saving services within the context of programmatic reprioritization. To those participants with question, I respectfully request that you defer them for now, as we have two additional speakers who will offer their reflection on the same topic. For our next speaker, I would like to introduce Mr. Javier. Mr. Javier is a journalist, communicator, and international consultant with over 36 years of experience in community work and advocacy pertaining to HIV, STIs, and TB. He is based in Mexico City, though a significant portion of his work encompasses Latin America and the Caribbean. In addition to his experience in other regions, he currently serves as a board member of the Global Fund for Communities Delegation of People Living with HIV and Affected by TB and Malaria, and is also a member of the Global Fund Strategic Committee. Javier, you have 10 minutes for your session, and now the floor is yours. Thank you. The Secretariat regional team leaders are doing their utmost to minimize the impact. We have certain priorities, but this is beyond our control. Let's focus on initiatives that save lives. Now, what we need to prioritize, Anna has already presented that they were not planning to reduce the new initiatives, so this is not the time for that. And we cannot forget the role of communities. Our delegation is working here to remove barriers. Many countries, through their country coordination mechanism, are doing everything they can, and we need your help to monitor this. And for this purpose, we will make our contact emails available here. Currently, we are in a crisis situation here. In addition to GC7, the Global Fund needs to plan its replenishment. It will be very difficult to meet the goals. We are already seeing the consequences and impact here. It is difficult now to fill all the gap. The Global Fund needs to continue to be one of the best mechanisms in the most effective way. But there are many things that are beyond our control. This is the biggest crisis we have overcome since the establishment of Global Fund. Many communities are not in position to face this crisis. That's why we are here. We recommend that civil society and communities need to come together and meet now to discuss what is non-negotiable, and this is to be correlation mechanism. I believe that in a recent scenario, our governments have managed to do a lot. So we now need our leaders to set up. We don't need to see them in Geneva taking pictures at the event. They need to be with us here now. There are many countries have not kept their word and funding here for our needs, and those of our communities remain the same. The people who need support continue to grow. We need this now, a time to advocate for the cause, the donors. Millions of people have to sleep without mosquito nets. This is not the time to run away. Thank you. Chinmay, over to you. Thank you, Javier, for reflecting on the programmatic reprioritization on the behalf of the community delegation to the board members to the board of Global Fund. Next, we have a launch of community guide on the reprioritization approach, and I would like to invite Anwar Luan, technical coordinator of Latin America and Caribbean regional platform for communication support and coordination from 2024 LAC Learning Hub of the Strategic Initiative for Community Participation of the Global Fund from 2016 to 2024. Anwar, over to you. Thank you. This toolkit is a work that we believe came out as we began to think about how we are going to provide support and level of communication that we can make available. We have a lot of information and we started to analyze all the information that was released, and by aggregating all this information to be able to aggregate all of this in a way as we have already heard here this week. The delegation from each country will start to choose their cards. What we want to do is present a very simple guide for participants to start this dialogue. So, therefore, this is the time for us to work together and start taking action. So, this guide, the intention of this guide is to help you navigate this process. The toolkit includes much of the information that has already been discussed here, but with specific focus. We will put the link here. The toolkit is in English and will soon be translated into Spanish, and other learning hub are identifying the possibility of translating this into different languages. So I don't want to spend any more time talking about this toolkit, but I just wanted to announce that guide is available to you and will be updated it later through your learning hub. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anwar, for the launch of community guide on reprioritization approach. You can use the link posted by Anwar in the chat box and have access to the community guide. Now it's time for us to open the floor for question and comments from the participant. I will request everyone to raise their hand or post question in the chat box. Anyone want to start? I have written my question in the chat box. My question here is, where CCM website are not active, will CSO know what suggestions have been sent to CCM by Global Fund? Let's go to Daniel. My question is, all of this that we are talking and discussing here happened before they announced this disbursed of $1.3 billion FY 2023 and sum of for 2024. So what are the implications now, and if we could reflect on this a little bit? How do you access to your country coordination mechanism? That will depend on whether you have a good relationship with the structure or not. Just trying to find out, but I still don't know. We will publish the revision of the assignment on the website, but still don't know what date was decided for this revision. And as I had already said, yes, it's a good news that US approved 1.3 billion. But then we are planning for our worst case scenario. As Javier said, it is not just United States that is cutting fund. There are several donors who are changing their funding policy. Global Fund is trying to mitigate these challenges. But yes, the positive thing is that we have some setback. But it would be less than what we were imagining. For answering that, the next question is what I would like to share here has to do with better understanding the process, as Anna said, in terms of reducing resources, in terms of they talked about getting in touch with coordination mechanism and talking and working with them about redefining priorities. Thank you. And there is another question that we saw that in previous funding cycle there is a specific department for country and community engagement and for the preparation of the funding proposal. Let's have a structure like this now to define to work this prioritization to successfully ensure that key population are not excluded or not omitted. Thanks. Thank you both for your question. What we need to remember here is that there is a review process, not a programming proposal. So this is for grant that have been already approved. This is a review of those that have already been approved. The PR and subrecipient are part of this with their partner talking about challenges here. And at this point, in which there is a great reprogramming because of the gaps created by the funding landscape from US to others. And we have important gaps specifically for malaria.
For malaria, for example, where you're not going to be able to cover as much of the population with prevention measures. That's going to require different approaches for case management. Similarly for HIV, where there might be a big reprogramming that needs to happen. This won't be in every country, so it will be context specific. I think what we can do from the Secretariat ensuring this process is that that the CCM is getting the information and that's transparent. Those communications are transparent. We really urge the representatives on the CCM for communities and civil societies, or for you to be discussing and advocating with them. If you're a grant implementer as a SSR or a subrecipient, or even as a civil society PR, to really go through your own budgets. Does that still work? Consult with your communities. Do those priorities still reflect the current circumstances, and work together on that? But otherwise it's a grant revision process, so there's minimal touch points. We are recommending at the end the PRs present back to the CCM where these changes are, and I think that's why it's really important to understand if there are big shifts across modules, across interventions, and most importantly, the implementation arrangements. We're trying to work out if we can get a summary, form for finance, just to working out the mechanics of that so it's easier to see. But it is difficult to have a broader, or it's not expected to have a broader civil society engagement as part of that process, as we would do during a normal funding request stage. Does that make sense? Oh, it's probably not ideal. Javier, do you want to add?
Yeah, thank you, Anna. I think that's bringing a lot of clarity, but we need to acknowledge that we have been always have issues with CCMs and principal recipients for 20 years. And now we are under a lot of stress, and this is not business as usual. We must go to our representative in the CCMs to get all the information that Anna mentioned in time. The afternoon we closed the board meeting, the communities delegation sent a letter to communities and networks and hubs, etc., in multiple language, telling them you need to start working before the famous or infamous letter coming to the principal recipient and the CCM. You need to start building back some of these links with CCM and with the principal recipient. The commitment from the Global Fund as a partnership at the Secretariat is to make sure that the letters reach all the members of the CCM. We cannot fix all the problems with the CCMs in each and every country. We acknowledge that, but I think this is the time for maturity among and across our movement to make sure that we get as many people as possible on the same page and we could properly represent it. And quickly going into Daniel's questions around the money, it's clear what Anna says. I mean, we cannot give you any figure, but of course, the good news from the US will be built into the letters, right? So that's a clear message, but it's not enough. If you see the quality and funded demand, the amount of this money, it's billions, 6 billion. So we need to be realistic. And one, you need to understand that each dollar that the US put, you require $2 from the other donors. And as Anna says, we're losing some significant donors already at the same time that the US get in trouble with PEPFAR, etc. So we already lose other donors, and we still need to get $2 for claiming $1 from the US. This was fiscal year 2023 and 24, so they owe the money, but 25 will be totally a different ball game. And finally, the clear message is at the end of the year, we need to replenish the global fund, 18 billion in the current context. This is also what we need to have in mind after the readjusting the Grand Cycle 7, we still need to thinking what happened in the medium term with the eighth replenishment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Javier. We will quickly take the last two questions for this round, and then we'll again go for the next session because we still have a Q&A session at the end of this webinar for approximately like 15 minutes. So I will request you to start these questions. But for now, Mohammed Motala and Daksha Patel. Mohammed, can you please go first?
Thank you very much. I was wanting to ask for countries that are not yet in GC7. So we are in South Africa, and our grant cycle GC6 was extended for 6 months, and GC7 was only going to start on the 1st of October. So we are not in GC7. What are the implications for us? We've had the same kind of guidance, come with suggestions on how you would cut budgets and all of that, but wait for the letter in June. So now that we know that we are going to be getting the letter, what are the implications for countries that have not started GC7? And secondly, in South Africa, domestic budget covers 85% of the HIV response. The kind of work that comes from the Global Fund is actually the softer linking with communities, all the community work. And so if you go to care and treatment, maintaining supply chains, making sure that there are medicines in the pharmacies, then we're covered for that because the government buys all the medicine, the government ensures the supply chains. It is the community work. It is all the things that are not prioritized in the way that you have prioritized. So what are the implications for us in that regard? Thank you. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. Daksha ma'am, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chinmay. I want to understand about like Global Fund also what mechanism they are following about the inclusion of community engagement ensured by CCM for reprioritization in a countries because in India, if I would say there is a almost CCM meeting are virtual and community representation are it's very hard to connect from in a language barrier or by virtually by to giving accurate inputs for CCA. And also like our main PLHIV constituency seat is vacant. Alternate PLHIV seat is in place. So in this situation, how Global Fund will ensure the inclusion and engagement of community? Over.
Thank you so much. Anna, over to you.
Thank you. So firstly, the calculations for the reductions will be made on projected unexecuted funds in a grant. So for countries that have not yet started GC7, those projected unexecuted funds are the entire amount for the grant, the new grant to be signed. So that will take that total number and then apply the percentage to that. So I hope that's clear for the South Africa case. And as to the activities, they will come back to that one. I think that's a very specific question. It seems in the chat and from everyone's question, obviously the process for community engagement is going to be difficult. Again, I just want to reiterate, this is because it's a grant revision process. So it's already an approved grant in countries, with the exception of those that are not yet finished their grant making. So it should be, as best as it could be when those grants were signed, aligned as much as possible to community priorities. And that's why we had up front the large community dialogue and engagement process, recognizing what Javier said, there's a huge amount still in unfunded quality demand for community work. So the challenge really is now to work with the PRs and the implementers to ensure that you can preserve as much of those prioritized interventions that were already approved and keep them. In some cases, there might be, again, a significant reprogramming because the context has changed so much, where there were large interdependencies on activities and other partners. That may change really significantly. But that won't be in all cases. And in those cases, it's really important that the CCM and your technical partners that work with you in country and your own engagement with the national programs or national AIDS councils or other partners and stakeholders are part of those discussions. I think from the Secretariat side, it's hard to ensure that those conversations are happening at country level, and you need to work with your networks and the learning hubs and all your stakeholders and civil society partners that can support you. We have some small amount of technical assistance available through the Community Engagement Strategic Initiative or the Human Rights SI that can support being prepared for some of those engagements now. And I know Stop TB and UNAIDS have also planned some technical support and virtual support for this process. But it's not an overall national dialogue around this. It's on the interventions and the activities that are already funded, what makes sense to reduce. We know those challenging conversations often target community activities first, as they're seen or can be perceived as not as essential as buying commodities. And that's the message we need to make really loud and clear, that access. There's no point spending money on commodities if no one can access them and they're sitting in a warehouse and the key populations that need them and are not able to get to those services. So it's hard, but we will have some checkpoints. So again, the CCM chair and the vice chair, and if either of those two positions are not a civil society representative, and the civil society representative to the CCM need to sign off and endorse the revised allocation or grant budgets, and to endorse the principal recipients revision to the global funds. So there's two key points there. We will issue a survey at the end of that process to monitor the community engagement. If there are real concerns in the country, please flag that to either in country to the CCM Secretariat, to the country team. Alternatively, you can flag up to us in CRG. And we will also be monitoring that as part of those revisions come through. We will be watching internally to see if these shifts have occurred or not. And we will red flag them if they need to be to go for a technical review panel review. We will also the country teams will communicate that if there are concerns around the process of CCM engagement, that we may request as an exception for an LFA verification and review of that process if it's flagged to us. They're some of the tools that we have, but noting in some places this is really hard. And as you mentioned in India, if you've got a vacancy on the constituency on the CCM, that makes it even more challenging. But flag to country teams if you're concerned, or if you need someone to help. There's a huge amount of partners here on this call that can help raise those challenges. I hope that has helped answer. I know there's so many questions there in the chat for that. Javier, do you want to add anything?
No, I think very, very briefly, Jim, Anna. I think we, at this stage, we only have 2 weeks. We cannot turn to the Global Fund Secretariat and say, please come and solve all our problems of governance, because CCM issues, whatever is civil society, communities, or government, are all together, are governance issue. We need to create urgent channel of communication in those challenging countries, but we cannot turn back to the Global Fund Secretariat, to the board, or whatever, to say, please solve 20 years old issues on in-country governance. Finally, you can also count on the OIG, but we don't want to pile allegations on the OIG because no one's invited me to the consultation. But that is about corruption, for example. And as Anna said, we have the TRP, we have CRG, we have the civil society and communities delegations in the board. The secretariat will be reporting back to the board and the strategic committee. We have all the systems in place, but there are things that need to be solved at the country level, acknowledging that they are not easy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna and Javier, for responding to questions. I will request everyone to quickly turn on their camera so that we can quickly take photographs, and then we go into the case studies coming from 2 countries. Requesting everyone to please turn on your camera. We can quickly take the photographs, and Ika will be helping us for the photographs.
Thank you. So since we have like quite a number of people, I will take several shots. So 1, 2, 3. One more. Okay, 9 more actually. 1, 2, 3, 3. Okay. One more. Last one. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ika, for taking photographs. For our next session, I will just request everyone.
Chinmoy, I have one question from.
Sorry, Abdullah, you cannot right now. Please wait for the Q&A session. We will be having Q&A session in like 10 minutes. Thank you so much for understanding. For our next session, I will request everyone to select the respective channel, as the speaker will be talking in French. So we all need to go into the English channel for the interpretation. And likewise, I will also request other interpreters to do the same accordingly. So for from now, I would like to invite Karen Lama, Communications Coordinator of Asia Pacific Regional Learning Hub by 7 Alliance, to moderate the rest of the webinar. Karen, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chinmay. As Chinmay mentioned, now our next session is case study from the communities. For this, I would like to invite Boy from Senegal. Boy is a program officer for the NGO AWA SR ANCS FM Sex Workers Module. member of the Board of Directors of the Civil Society PR, ANCS, and country focal point for the HRF. Boy, you have 5 minutes and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Merci à tous. Donc, je vais juste présenter un cas au niveau du Sénégal.
The
Donc,
case
moi,
of
So I'm going to
Senegal.
give you a brief
I
overview
am
of
Boy,
Senegal. My
and
name
I
is
am
Boy, and
responsible
I
of
am
program
in
in
charge,
an
and I'm program
NGO
officer
and
for NGO
sub
Our, that's the
recipient
workers
in
module. I am
and also
also
focal
the focal
point
point of the
for the Francophone
HRF.
hub. I will share what
I'd
we've
like
done in Senegal
to
during
convey to you what we
this
did on the
process.
regional level.
Since we
I
have
only
5 minutes, I will go straight to the point in my presentation. Slide. Slide. Thank you. So for the first slides, I just wanted to...
Depuis la notification des agissements reçus par les PR au niveau du Sénégal et
at the peer level, there have been a lot of discussion between the country team and peer. And after those discussion, we had a lot of meeting with the peer, sub-peer, and sub-peer to agree on what we will have to do as adjustment. We also had a technical assistant from the Francophone hub, so CSOs organized a discussion day, consultation day, to discuss and understand the process. And during that meeting, during those meetings, we had the participation of all the organization for the three diseases. There were also national network of people living with HIV. There was the national network of key population, and there was CCM and peer. They all supported us during that reflection day to understand the process and prepare a new roadmap. Slide. So what have we done? What have we done so far? We created thematic groups. So during the reflection day, we wanted each group that represent a disease to reflect on the priorities of the disease. And there were three groups. There was a TB, malaria, and HIV group, and they already had like a template for discussion on the prioritization that should be done. So in the reflection, there was a revision of the grant that we had, that each PR presented the situation of the grant, and that helped us go to work group to identify activities that we believe are priorities and that do not affect the quality of the services that we had to offer. And in the different work, we identify priority interventions, and each identify priority activities, there was justification on why it should be maintained, why, for example, an activity is a priority compared to others, and it helped us prepare a document that is being finalized and will be shared at the country level. We also had discussion with the peer to also give our point of view and also get information from the peer, mainly for the peer that represent CSOs. In this dynamism of participation and consultation, we created a platform that represent all the organization working on the three diseases, key population, CSO representative at CCM. And during the different activity, we invited all the different CSOs, members of CCM, to support them in this process. Slide. Can you go back to the other slide? Thank you. During those meeting, at the end of the meeting, we had like a roadmap for the process up to the CCM to really have more information with community organization. In the process also, we reinforce the CSO's representative in CCM so that they can continue advocacy during CCM meetings. And this really help us create a WhatsApp group where we continue discussion and also facilitate exchange. So in this dynamism, we involve resource people who will be working with us during and support us during CCM meeting, and they will help us really have a strong advocacy during meetings. Slide. So can you go back to the other slide? So the roadmap also help us have review the GC7 and C19 RM to really appreciate the community work and prepare a report of the consultation day and reprioritization day, and also validate all the different data that we shared during the meeting, and also prepare the meeting with the PR and CCM. So this is the roadmap that we developed. This is what we are still working on, slides. And this doesn't really address all the challenges. So can you go to slide, next slide? We still have some challenges, slide. So the last activity is to prepare CSOs or representative, mainly those that represent organization at the meeting. So during the process, we actually highlighted some challenges. Can you go back to slide? So we identified some challenges, 3 that I would like to share during the process. The first is the negative impact that this reprioritization will have on services. So during the meeting, we discussed on the possible implication of
L'autre impact, c'est surtout par rapport au cadre de performance. Est-ce que les activités qui vont être reportées ou enlevées ou supprimées auront un impact sur le cadre de performance?
impact the performance of all the activities we are already leading. And the other worry we had was about the key population organization, which are working uh, uh, the activities of those organizations that are community organization, that are organization of key population working on prevention at the country level. So this is really what I wanted to share, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Boye, for the comprehensive, for highlighting the importance of strengthening CSO representative at the CCM to continue advocacy. And apology of everyone, we are a bit lacking behind the time. I will request you to bear with us for 10 minutes more. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite our next community speaker, Gangzo. Gangzo is a dedicated Mongolian TV advocate with 6 years of experience in the field, holding degree in law and finance. He has worked across various sectors, including banking, media, and public health. Since 2018, he has coordinated the stream CAB Mongolia and serves as the community engagement and advocacy coordinator for the Mongolian Anti-TV Coalition. Sorry. Gangzo is currently a partial CAB members, the global TV CAB members, and the member of CCM Mongolia. Gangzo, you also have 5 minutes and the time is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. So, uh, thank you for the introduction. And I worked as a CCM member and executive committee member on the CCM. Uh, and recently, we launched the activist coalition of TB Mongolia with the guidance of
Angel, could you please speak louder? Thank you.
Sorry, is it better now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. So we recently launched the activist coalition of TB Mongolia with the guidance and support of ACT AP under CSI of Global Fund, which gives us a great opportunity to become a strategic partner with important stakeholders, including Ministry of Health, NTP, National Center for Public Health, CCM, and other
à la direction de santé publique.
That in early July, we are planning to conduct a screening and advocacy activity on the biggest music festival in Mongolia, aimed to include younger generation into TB activity. Now, straight to today's topic. Uh, we we had received the letter from the partner portal on May 15th, and on May 22nd, CCM Secretariat translated the letter and sent it to all the CCM members. In the most Asian Pacific region, the language barrier is the main issue, especially for the community members. So we need to time for translate and resource for translate it. And on 27th of May, the PCU had organized the meeting with the CCM, and they already did the reprioritization and introduced the results. And sorry, and it was not the community discussion was not included on that result. So we demanded the full transparency on the process, and on that result, they already classified 12% of the budget uh, to non-essential, and 80% of it was a TB allocation, and $200,000 was decreased from the TBCSOs. And we demanded that there should be full transparency, and there should be a communication with the SRs who is implementing uh, on, on behalf of civil society and communities. And just the last week, we received a new uh, updated documents, and on that document, uh, the budget decreased to 10% and 50% of that from the TB allocation, and CSO budget cut is only 18,000. Uh, so as just last week, our prime minister has newly appointed, and and our CCM is on the transition period. What we do is that we are planning to update the TOR, uh, and and we want to involve the prime minister or the government to the CCM, heading the CCM, especially the health advisor to prime minister to head the CCM, and alongside with the uh, with with the civil society community member, and now the appointed new health minister used to be a head of the TB caucus in the parliament. So we will hold a meeting with him soon, and on the first day of his appointment on the parliament, he said that there should be increased budget in the health, uh, including the communicable diseases. So uh, there might be a light at the end of the tunnel, and we will further advocate to Ministry of Health to increase the local budget for especially for communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gandhi, for highlighting the programmatic reprioritization of the Global Fund GC7 grants in Mongolia. Now we will open the floor for the question answer. And to respond to the raised question, we have resource people from Global Fund. We have Annabelle. Now, please feel free to raise your hand or type your question in the chat box. Kindly keep your question short and to the point. I don't see any hand raise. So can we go to the next session? Okay, let's go to the next session. Now we have come to an end of this webinar. Therefore, for the closing remarks, I would like to invite Ika Novianti, Regional Coordinator at Euclid and Developing NGO Community Members. Ika, over to you.
Thank you so much, Karan. Once again, thank you everyone for joining. As Karan mentioned, my name is Ika Novianti. I'm the Regional Coordinator of Youth Lead, also part of the Seven Alliance. As we come to the close of this important today has shown us that even in the moment of uncertainty and constraint, our collective commitment to protecting the rights, health, and dignity of our community remains strong. We've heard today that reprioritization is not just a technical adjustment. It is not just adjustment. It is a political and moral process. Those most affected by ACL to the success of any effective health response. The conversation we've had today are not the end. They're part of a continuing process. So I urge all of you to stay connected with your respective learning hub because it's really important to keep each other posted, and the CCM members, civil society leaders, technical partners to ensure that communities are not just consult, but actively shaping the decision ahead. Finally, I want to thank the Learning Hub for the collaboration to make this webinar happen. And I want to express deep gratitude and appreciation to our speakers, interpreters, and to everyone of you who showed up today ready to listen, learn, and also act. Let us carry forward today's momentum and remain united in ensuring that essential services are protected and that no one is left behind. So thank you so much, and let's keep working together. Over to you, Karen.
Thank you so much, Ika. And it's a very comprehensive learning session that we have done with all the learning hubs. And I know it is 3 a.m. morning in some of the region, and some of the region it's late night. But you take your time and participate in this important webinar. Thank you so much, everyone, and keep connect with Learning Hub that you represent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Merci. Merci, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.